Hi, I'm Hobie1. This is Red Share Reading. I'm reading Midnight by the great Dean R. Koontz. Glasses. Check. We're on Chapter 6. Let's go. Over the years, Sam Booker had discovered that the length of the California coast was graced by charming inns that featured master quality stonework. Weathered wool, cove ceilings, beveled glass, and lushly painted courtyards with used brick walkways. In spite of the comfortable images its name evoked and the singularly scenic setting that it enjoyed, Cove Lodge was not one of those California jewels. It was just an ordinary stucco, 2-story, 40-room, rectangular box with a drab coffee shop at one end and no swimming pool. Amenities were limited to ice and soda machines on both floors. The sign above the hotel office was neither garish nor in the artistic mode of some modern neon, just small and simple and cheap. The evening desk clerk gave him a second-floor room with an ocean view, though location didn't matter to Sam. Judging by the dearth of cars in the lot, however, rooms with a view were not in short supply. Each level of the motel had 20 units in banks of tin, serviced by an interior hall carpeted in short nap orange nylon that seared his eyes. Rooms on the east overlooked Cypress Lane. Those on the west faced the Pacific. His quarters were at the northwest corner, a queen-size bed with a sagging mattress and worn green spread, cigarette-scarred nightstands. A television bolted to a stand table. 2 straight-back chairs, cigarette-scarred bureau, phone, bathroom, and one big window framing the night blanketed sea. When disheartened salesmen, down on their luck and teetering on the edge of economic ruin, committed suicide on the road, they did the deed in rooms like this. He unpacked his 2 suitcases, putting his clothes in the closet and bureau drawers. Then he sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the telephone on the nightstand. He should call Scott, his son, who was back home in Los Angeles, but he couldn't do it from this phone. Later, if the local police became interested in him, they would visit Cove Lodge, examine his long-distance charges, investigate the numbers he had dialed, and try to piece together his real identity from the identities of those with whom he had spoken. To maintain his cover, he must use his room phone only to call his contact number at the bureau office in L.A., a secure line that would be answered with, "Birchfield Securities, may I help you?" Furthermore, in phone company records, that line was registered to Birchfield, the non-existent firm with which Sam was supposedly a stockbroker. It could not be traced ultimately to the FBI. He had nothing to report yet, so he did not lift the receiver. When he went out to dinner, he could call Scott from a payphone. What's a payphone? He did not talk to the boy. It would be purely a duty call. Sam dreaded it. Conversation with his son had ceased to be pleasurable. At least 3 years ago, when Scott had been 13, and at that time, already motherless for a year, oh, that's a bummer for him, Sam wondered if the boy would have gone wrong quite as rapidly or so completely if Karen had lived. That avenue of thought led him, of course, to the contemplation of his own role in Scott's decline. Would the boy have turned bad, regardless of the quality of the parental guidance he received? Sometimes you just get a bad apple, you know. Was his fall inevitable? The weakness in him or in his stars? Was Scott's descent a rather direct result of his father's failure to find a way to steer him to a better, brighter path? If he kept brooding about it, he was going to pull a Willie Loman right there in Cove Lodge, even though he was not a salesman. He means kill himself. Guinness Stout, good Mexican food, Goldie Hawn, fear of death. As a list of reasons for living, it was damned short and too pathetic to contemplate. But perhaps it was just long enough. After he used the bathroom, he washed his hands and face in cold water. He still felt tired, not the least refreshed. He took off his corduroy jacket and put on a thin, supple leather shoulder holster that he retrieved from a suitcase. He'd also packed a Smith & Wesson .38 Chiefs Special, which he now loaded. He tucked it into the holster before slipping into his jacket again. His coats were tailored to conceal the weapon. It made no bulge, and the holster fit so far back against his side that the gun could not be seen easily, even if he left his jacket unbuttoned. For undercover assignments, Sam's body and face were as well tailored as his jackets. He was 5'11", neither tall nor short. He weighed 170 pounds, mostly bone and muscle, a little fat. Yet he was not a thick-necked weightlifter type, in such superb condition that he would draw attention. His face was nothing special, neither ugly nor handsome, neither too broad nor too narrow, marked neither by unusually sharp nor blunt features, unblemished and unscarred. His sandy brown hair was barbered in a timelessly moderate length and style that would be unremarkable in the age of brush cuts or in an era of shoulder-length locks. If Midnight is interesting to you, please be sure to boop that like button. You'll help the video spread to other people. Thank you very much. Of all the aspects of his appearance, only his eyes were truly arresting. They were gray-blue with darker blue striations. Women had often told him that his eyes were most beautiful, the most beautiful eyes they'd ever seen. At one time, he had cared what women said of him. He shrugged, making sure the holster was hanging properly. He did not expect to need the gun that evening. He had not begun to nose around and draw attention to himself, and since he had not yet pushed anyone, no one was ready to push back. Nevertheless, from now on, he would carry the revolver. He could not leave it in the motel room or lock it in his rental car. If someone conducted a determined search, the gun would be found, and his cover would be blown. No middle-aged stockbroker searching for a coastal haven in which to take early retirement would go armed with a snub-nosed .38 of that make and model. It was a cop's piece. Pocketing his room key, he went out to dinner. That's the end of Chapter 6. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you in Chapter 7. Bye.